People have been asking me to do a video on the November 4th plans that Antifa Refuse Fascism have. And being that I watch their sites quite a bit, probably more than a lot of the other YouTubers that are talking about them, I did discuss this in my collab with Alacia Clegg, but I want to do some I think it's going to be multiple videos, because I'm going to start with, I found this video by a YouTuber I didn't know, Mr. Obvious, and I do want to basically follow along his video, which means it's going to be multiple videos, because I don't do 20-minute videos, I do small videos. So, starting out, he goes through this article that I had already seen.
The left's plan to occupy Trump. In this first article, it says, veterans of Occupy Wall Street are dusting off an old protest tactic for a new era. I'm going to read just a little bit of this article so you can kind of get an idea of what these people are and what they're going to be doing, possibly in a city near you. So the article starts off here. New York. 1 week after Charlottesville, the resistance is planning its next move. Members of a group calling itself Refuse Fascism met in 5 cities around the country on Saturday with the intent to plan and organize nationwide demonstrations later this year. Their goal, according to Eva Sahana, a 22-year-old organizer, 22 years old, it's not surprising, probably some college kid taking a liberal arts degree or women's studies.
So, he presumes that Eva Sahana was a liberal arts major in college, and I actually have proof. She apparently majored in like art history or something, as you can see by this little clip.
From Eva, who's been traveling the country with Refuse Fascism organizing tour.
Thank you. Before 2 months ago, I had never been politically active. During the election, I was in college, about to graduate, and I was hoping to start a career in museum education, which I would later find out is nearly impossible without the National Endowment for the Arts, which Trump plans to cut entirely.
Anyway, she says, is simply to drive out the Trump and Pence fascist regime. Drive out? What do they mean, drive out Trump and Pence? And fascists? I don't think these people know what fascism is. Fascism is Stalin. It's Hitler, Mussolini. It's these people with a lot of power who kill a lot of people. Honestly, sounds more like Hillary Clinton to me, but I digress. The article goes on to say, the planning is still in its early stages, but the organizers have an idea in mind. On Saturday, November 4th, approximately a year after President Donald Trump's election, members of the resistance will descend on America's major cities. They'll march and demonstrate as they have in the past, but this time, say organizers, they won't go home at the end of the day. Instead, the plan is to occupy city centers and parks and not leave until, and only until, Trump and Vice President Pence have fallen. And let's just repeat those last lines. Instead, the plan is to occupy city centers and parks and not leave until and only until Trump and Vice President Mike Pence have fallen. What did they mean by this? I think it's clear already that these people are way over their heads. I'm calling it what it is. This is insane. They're gonna go to cities uninvited, probably without permits. Okay, so what is occupying anyway? Occupying is when you go in an area that doesn't belong to you, again, without permits, without permission, and you literally camp out. You take over, you sit down, and you claim, I'm not leaving until my demands are met. It's a form of so-called protest, and I can already tell you guys, this isn't going to be peaceful. I'm sure Antifa is going to find out. It's going to get messy. It's going to get messy as it has in the past. So I'm predicting that right now. You heard it here first. Okay, the article goes on to say, outrages that once shocked people about this regime aren't quite as shocking anymore, said Sahana. We need to act now, before people have learned to accept the unacceptable. You know, it's really funny of them to say. They're basically saying, people aren't getting outraged. What happened? What happened to all the outrage? What happened to all the hate over every single thing Trump does? What happened to all the liberal outrage? And, you know, I shouldn't even say liberal. I should just say, call them for what they are. Sheep. okay? They're talking about why aren't people outraged? Why aren't the sheep outraged? Why aren't they doing what they tell us to do? Okay, so not even liberals, just people in general. You know, it's funny that they mention that. They've noticed people don't give a shit, you know? Everyone's going on with their daily lives, going to work. Trump is doing his job. He's doing a pretty decent job of it, I think. This outrage machine, the media, the mainstream media is always lying, always saying, always making outrage, always exaggerating the truth. They keep lying. I think we all know that by now. Anyway, she says, we need to act now before people have learned to accept the unacceptable, folks. There's a lot to explain, but basically, the far left, the regressive left, the extremists, they know propaganda. And part of propaganda is something they call normalization. They don't want specific things normalized. Except for them, that's patriotism, it's Americanism, it's sanity. That's why they're always repeating things like, this is not normal. It is normal. America's pretty normal right now. It's them who are crazy. Okay, continuing on. The lead organizers at the New York conference are a disparate bunch. Disparate. I think it means of a different kind, different people, different factions. They include a Maoist activist and a leftist bookstore owner and anti-gun advocate who describe themselves as anti-fascist, but differentiate themselves from Antifa, the black-clad protesters who have clashed violently with quote-unquote white supremacists and the alt-right at Charlottesville and the University of California, Berkeley. So what a bunch of people, guys. You've got a Maoist activist, and Mao, from what I understand, was not the best person. Now, I'm gonna assume they're talking about Mao Zedong. He was a Chinese revolutionary, he was an anarchist, he was a Marxist, basically batshit crazy. He helped found the Communist Party of China and plunged China into the corrupt dictatorship that it is today. Under his rule, a lot of people suffered because of his stupid choices, especially with economics, which is no surprise, since communism generally would be, that would be generous. They never work. Anyways, okay, so there's that guy. You've got the Maoist activist. Next person on the list is a leftist bookstore owner. I'm not even sure what that means. I wonder if they ban books that they don't like. Honestly, would not be surprised. And lastly, an anti-gun advocate. Anti-gun. You know, it's right there in the American Constitution, the Second Amendment. Right to bear arms. Heck, I'll read it for you here. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's your right, folks. As an American, you have the right to bear arms. It shall not be infringed. So you have a pathetic bunch already, okay?
This doesn't make you disparate. They don't sound very disparate to me, actually. So anyway, they say a Maoist, a leftist bookstore owner, and an anti-gun advocate. So this, what's his name again? Mr. Obvious. So Mr. Obvious is saying, like, what is a leftist bookstore owner? I already know that means that it's the owner of this bookstore. Can't move the window once I said it. I hadn't planned on pulling this up. But there is a communist bookstore here in New York City. Oh, here we go. Here's something good to show you. I'm actually working on some other videos about the communist bookstore. So whoever owns this bookstore is one of the organizers. I'm not sure. I looked on the website, tried to figure out who it was. I've narrowed down that the bookstore is probably owned by either owned by a guy named Andy Z, who I don't know much about him, but I'm going to start to watch him a little bit more, or Bob Avakian, who is like the top of all of this. He started this movement and he tries to keep his name out of it, it seems. I mean, yes and no, but I haven't seen him at any of these street rallies or anything. Actually, same with this Anti-Z, but there are videos of him talking, so I am going to start to look into who he is. I'm sure he thinks the same crazy stuff the rest of them do. But differentiate themselves from Antifa, the black-clad protesters who have violent.
These people are maybe not so bright, hard to call them an American, so I find it funny they call themselves anti-fascist, but not Antifa. Yeah, I'm calling it right now. Antifa's going to show up. Some of them probably are, and it could get violent. At least 5 American cities. On November 4th, this is going to turn into a happening. It's going to turn into a debacle. Things are going to go down. It's going to be crazy. It might be in a city near you, so I am warning you, warning everybody, all my viewers, everyone who sees this video. These people are coming. November 4th. Watch out, folks. Maybe we'll find more information and we can find out where they're going. You can protect yourself. Make sure that your dwelling, your home is protected. Just be safe. Be safe, folks. Okay, continuing on. The organizers' disillusionment with electoral politics and radical talk of regime change sets them apart too from more moderate organizations within the so-called resistance, such as Indivisible or Swing Left, 2 constitute-based activist groups that formed in the wake of Trump's election. So more retarded groups. I don't believe for a second that they're moderate. Not for a second. Okay, so what do these people have to say about their plans? Quote unquote, folks, everywhere there will be a need for around-the-clock base of operations, said Andy Z, a refused fascism organizer who took part in Occupy Wall Street. Starting now, we need a plan. Protesters will take shifts, they imagine, and those who are able to camp out each night. Now here's an important part. This is a big point I want to make. They say right here, but despite the obvious similarities, the masterminds of refused fascism are taking care not to frame the upcoming protest as Occupy 2.0, probably because the original protest has become infamous, even among its participants, for creating a great deal of noise, but achieving few results. Very few. I'm calling it right now. This refused fascism, this movement, this occupying all these cities, it's going to be Occupy 2.0. So that's what I'm going to call it. Occupy 2.0.